NOAA loves what you do, and
Thank you.
we are feeling very, very comfortable that our ecosystem, the one we are helping to grow and shape, etc., is in good hands when it comes to represent it to the politicians.
Thank you,
Please,
Marco.
Clark, thank you for being
Super.
here.
Thank you, guys. First off, big thanks to Marco and the whole team at Axel Springer NOAA for giving us this forum. We think it's going to be a really great partnership. Most of the companies that step up here are in late stage. We're not. We're, as Marco said, very early stage, about 7 weeks old. So this is a startup, if you will. Bear with us. Work with us. That's the whole point of me being here for the next 10 minutes. As you can hear, I'm an American. What's an American doing in Berlin? I've been here 18 years. Ironically, following the whole travel industry. 15 years ago, I was working on a travel industry startup here in Berlin, so it's a very small world. 10 years ago, I was running my own voice over IP startup here, so I have a long background in the tech scene, in the Berlin internet scene. I actually had to fly to Munich to meet VCs 15 years ago. There weren't any here in Berlin, so it's quite a change to have a room full of them, or rather a terrace and an espresso bar full of them. So pleasure to be here. We're going to talk about the Internet Economy Foundation and try and give you guys an idea of what we want to try and do for this ecosystem. You know, last year the sign up there said connecting leaders, and that was it, or leaders connected, I think. I think it's really wonderful that even NOAA sees a kind of a responsibility to work on behalf of the German and European internet scene, and that's what we're here to do. Many of you probably know Mary Meeker's famous State of the Internet Industry report that comes out every year. This chart is a week old. Mary Meeker does about now 250 pages of what's going on in the internet, and this was kind of buried in the middle. The thing that jumped out at me is perhaps the thing that might jump out at you. You know, they say private companies are well represented in the top 20 of the internet industry, but gosh, I just see USA and China and little Japan down at the bottom. So as a European now, an adopted European and a Berliner too, I kind of think, what do we have to do to get on the chart? And in a way, that's essentially why the Internet Economy Foundation exists, is that we really want to work on behalf of you guys and the internet industry in Germany and Europe to crack this chart, and if not to crack the chart, at least to have some success trying to get there. If you look around other industries, you know, this is Germany's most famous industry, you know, things look a little different. There are a lot of German companies up there. There's a lot of European companies up there on the chart in the world auto industry. You know, that's an industry that's more than 100 years old. You could say give the Germans 100 years. Maybe they'll, you know, with quality work their way up the internet charts. Just for fun, I tried to find an industry that was dominated, top 20, with only Europeans. Looked a long, long time and finally settled on one that begins with Real Madrid and ends with Newcastle United. So, you know, maybe at some point the Chinese will crack that list too soon, but who knows. We're here to try and be a think tank, to try and be you guys' voice and convince the politicians in Berlin, Brussels, London, Paris, to do the things that need to be done to help the internet economy flourish. In some cases, that means just getting out of the way. And in some cases, it means being active and trying to step in where the market has failed or where the market is slow to do things. So I'm going to quickly go through in my last 5 minutes just some of the steps that we've outlined that we think are really important to get the internet economy going here in Europe. Here's the 7 steps. We've got them actually in a study we've done with Roland Berger. At the end of the presentation, I'll show you our URL. You can download the study, get to know it, quibble with it, spread it, etc. This for us was, let's say, our talking points to begin. If you want to try and get the internet economy going here, what do you think needs to get changed? What do you think needs to be done? So I'll fly through them quickly and just hit some of the big points. Obviously, here we are in the room full of VCs. Financing is to us really a big issue. It's really where you see the gap. You know, a few years ago, NOAA was a very small conference. It's great to see that it's gotten big. But if you look at these numbers, especially even for 2015, I mean, this is the amount of venture capital invested over the last 3 years. The gap between Europe and America is big, and even though we can all pat ourselves on the back for the fact that those numbers are growing in Europe and Germany, I would just say that the amount that the US grew from 2014 to 15 was larger than the entire VC market in 2015 for Europe. So unfortunately, we're still a bit of a rounding error in global VC. That needs to change. There's a lot of institutional things that need to happen, perhaps, for that to change. Things are off to a great start. Everyone pointed out yesterday that the European market and the German market is still potentially 20 to 30 years behind in VC, so I think we're going to get there here. I'm very optimistic, but these are just some of the cold, hard facts that you have to see that right now we're starting way behind. And the thing that if you talk to anybody around the VC scene in Europe and Germany is that now there's actually a lot of good money for startups. There's a lot of seed money. There's a great number of angels. There's a lot going on in that space. Where things are really missing is, let's say, Series B, Series C. There's just not a lot of market solutions to fund things in the growth phase. And that's something that we're going to be working on and trying to work with the industry, work with KfW. BPI is a great example in France of some great programs to see if there are ways, also out of Brussels. The EU has been doing interesting things with their Juncker funds. There are ways to try and help step in where the market is not yet there and try and spur things along. But for us, that's a big focus right now on the financing side, is to try and help you guys and help the ecosystem get more liquidity and get more money into the growth phase so that a German or European company doesn't have to sell for 200, 300, 500 million, but those founders can hold on, can maybe get another round, and build more European unicorns. Infrastructure is a huge issue for us. You can't have an internet economy without an internet. When I got to Europe, GSM was amazing. US was 5 years behind in mobile technology. Now Europe's lead is pretty much down to nothing on mobile technology. Up at the top of the chart, you see South Korea, and that's just with their fiber optics. They're, of course, going to be rolling out 5G nationwide in a couple of years, and once again be way ahead of everyone. Europe really needs to try and get moving quickly on this. So for us, the two big subjects on infrastructure are how do we get fiber everywhere, because if you want automated autonomous driving, you're gonna have to have glass fiber everywhere. You're gonna have to have 5G every 200 meters and your lampposts all around town. There's a lot of infrastructure problems that are going to need to be solved to get a really strong, great internet infrastructure going here. This is a big subject for us, is that operating systems and platforms in the competition space are something that's really been discussed hotly in Brussels and Berlin these days. We're trying to ensure a level playing field, especially for all these great European marketplaces that are trying to come up. But as you can see, the bottleneck we talk about a lot is everyone turns their phone on and they're running an American-based operating system. So you've seen what's happened with Google Android. There's a lot of regulation that potentially is coming, and we're trying to step in and speak on behalf of the industry and say, please don't ever over-regulate, but please make it possible for the Europeans and everyone else to fight with a level playing field. I'll fly through too, in the interest of time. Data protection is a big issue. There's a lot of talk about a European cloud solution. In Europe, they're talking about potentially having states do it. Here's an interesting example of how a US company just got a contract from the Pentagon to do identity management. Perhaps the market can help step in and settle some of these things about data sovereignty and giving users a better feeling about who's got their data, who's in control. That's a big subject for us that we think is going to need to be solved. One word quickly about governance. This is the green dot in the middle is essentially the digital agenda. We're just showing here that right now, especially in Germany, it's very hard to know who's in charge. At the EU level, at least Commissioner Oettinger, for the most part, can very quickly make decisions and set things in motion. But in Germany, unfortunately, there's a coalition with several parties, each running different ministries. We think it would be much more efficient and helpful for everyone if one person or one office was in charge of setting the agenda, instead of everyone saying we need to wait another year till there's a new government. In the internet, that's just way too long in internet time. Digital literacy is for us a big issue. You can see by the chart, Germany's still sort of in the middle field, but there are other countries that are already taking the lead. Here's a great headline from last week about how the Japanese are actually now going to make coding a part of the actual curriculum for all of their school children. There's a lot that can be done to try and ensure that the next generation is trained with digital literacy. Hey, good Lord.
Okay, I'm not on stage to interrupt you. I'm just on stage to tell you this is not a political election like Trump. Dude, we are on time. What does it say? What does it say on the monitor?
It says 0. Yeah.
Okay, we can learn from each other, right?
Yeah, we can. Look, there
Party
you go.
over.
Boom, boom, party's over. Thank you guys very much. Please hit us up. Yeah, find us online. Coffee afterwards.
Thank you.
I'd appreciate your vote.